I don't know what happened. I bought the fish food. I've been feeding them 3 times a day.
Oh, that's way too much.
It is?
Yeah. Once a day, max. Just a sprinkle.
It is April 17th, 2018. I'm with homecoming client and fish expert, Walter Cruz. This is week 2, session 2.
I finished that worksheet.
Oh.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how to answer some of the questions, so I just...
It's okay. It's just to give me an idea of some of your experiences. Oh. What is Titanic Rising?
Oh, it's just this funny story about this guy who used to mess with Benji.
Will you tell it to me?
He was this little guy, and he was obsessed with... You know the movie Titanic?
Titanic? Yeah.
Okay, so that was Benji's #1 favorite movie of all time. I mean, he'd watch it over and over. We'd literally have to listen to him fall asleep watching it. One day, this guy, Lesky, asked him what he thought of Titanic Rising. And Benji was like, what? And Lesky was like, well, the sequel to Titanic, Titanic Rising. And Benji's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And Lesky's like, well, I really thought you would have seen it, seeing as how Titanic's your favorite movie. It's got all the same characters, but it's 10 times as good.
You fellas had some time on your hands, it sounds like.
God, we were so incredibly bored. We'd spend all day locking up this one street, just standing there, getting yelled at by dudes in cars.
And you and Benji and Lesky were all detailed there.
Yeah, and Schreier, too. Anyway, so Benji chews on this all day, and that night he gets online and he's in there an hour, maybe 2 hours. Finally, he comes out and he says, no way. There's nothing about that on the internet. No such thing as Titanic Rising. And Lesky, all casually, just says, well, of course not. It was an independent movie.
Wait, he bought that?
He completely bought it.
Oh, no.
Lesky had this whole line about how James Cameron had self-funded the sequel so he could work around the studio system, but then the studio tried to suppress it for copyright or whatever, so it's hard to get your hands on. It got really involved. There was a mafia subplot, you know, where the Italians are below deck and Jack and Rose have to foil him. And there was tons of sex. I mean, tons. Jack was fucking this Polish teenager down in steerage.
No, Jack loves Rose.
No, Rose is fucking the captain. I mean, literally fucking the captain. When they hit the iceberg, this thing went on and on. And so meanwhile, Benji is obsessively trying to get himself a copy of this thing. I mean, pleading with the guys in at the PX, please would you get me a copy of this movie? It's called Titanic Rising. And then Lesky got to him, you know, the guys at the PX. And so Benji, he goes back in there and he asks for it again, and they say, oh, Titanic Rising. Yeah, we can't get that anymore. It's too emotional for the soldiers. It's too good.
That's so mean.
Yeah.
So did Benji figure it out?
Yeah, Benji, eventually.
Did Lesky tell him?
No, Lesky died.
I'm so sorry.
It's okay. Makes the story a little sadder, I guess. Yeah, Lesky died, let me think. Not too long after that, the vehicle he was in rolled over an IED. A couple months after that. It's kind of annoying, actually. You know, Benji kept asking about Titanic Rising, and eventually we just had to tell him. And Lesky made the whole thing up. We couldn't tell him anything else about it because he's making the whole thing up.
Must have been hard. What happened to Lesky?
Well, yeah.
Want to talk about it?
Maybe.